Next up, we're with the man behind MMA Lock of the Night. That's at MMA LOTN, Manpreet Jhass. Thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I was looking forward to doing this for a long time now.
We are here to talk about one card that the line has kind of been baffling me, actually, or one fight on the card. John Dodson versus MERAB. Say it with me.
Davalis Vili.
Really? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Thank you for taking that one. So it is currently sitting at plus 205, John Dodson, minus 245, MERAB. Now, spoiler alert, bet this, and I was really excited about it, at plus 155, John Dodson.
Whoa.
I'm really just talk me off the ledge because I know you're kind of on Dodson.
Yeah, first of all, I feel you on that line movement because last week I bet the hell out of Gavin Tucker, and then I wake up the next morning and he's minus 160. I bet him all the way up at minus 195. I wake up the next day minus 160. I'm like, what the fuck are people seeing in Justin James here? But on the other side, with Merab,
it's a little embarrassing, but he's got to win. Otherwise, like you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But what am I not seeing? But continue. Yeah, sorry.
I think people, and I am myself, I'm on the MERAB Dvalishvili train. I just had to hop off for a stop here, though. You know what I mean? I think that Dodson just produces all these different scenarios that MERAB hasn't really seen yet, and has a lot of threats in terms of like being able to knock the guy out. You know what I mean? He's had 11 knockdowns in 16 fights. Just a fun little fact. It doesn't really have too much of an influence on this fight, but MERAB's last three opponents, they have a career total of 8 knockouts total. John Dodson has 10 in his whole career, just himself. So the guy is a finisher.
I think that's super relevant.
Power. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, like, we haven't really seen MERAB's chin tested against the guy that punches to the power of Dodson. And I have heard the case out there that, this was Dodson's first knockout in 4 years. People are just, it's just recency bias as to why there is love on John Dodson. I don't believe that. Like, again, MERAB hasn't fought anybody who, and one thing you have to say about MERAB is that he is very hittable, and he hasn't fought somebody that hits as hard as John Dodson, in my opinion. So I see the output, I see the activity from MERAB, the endless gas tank. Those are all a dream trait for a bettor when you're looking at a fighter. But in this situations, when you've seen MERAB get hit as much as he has, you got to take a shot on the guy that has the punching power.
I can't agree enough. And even besides the punching power, I think he has some of the strengths to like utilize or to neutralize, because MERAB wrestles and he's had trouble keeping people down. That's why he gets 10 takedowns in a fight. And no one is slipperier and even harder to get their hands on even before you get to that point than like John Dodson. Like I watched the Jimmy Rivera Dodson fight today, and the wrestling didn't happen a lot, but when it did, and Jimmy's a really strong wrestler, like John's takedown defense was on point, like right away. Daniel Cormier got all excited about it. That's how I know. John Dodson grapevine Jimmy's leg just like in super quick. I mean, that fight was a little while ago, so like his speed losing is probably like one of the questions people because he's getting older. But I think Nathaniel Wood. I would probably take Nathaniel Wood straight up against MERAB, and John Dodson really effed him up.
You would favor Wood in that fight if
I know the line wouldn't be, but I would lean. I think whatever that came out to be, I would end up betting Nathaniel Wood, probably as a dog.
Yeah, the thing about Dodson is even in his last fight, he still shows that he has speed. I mean, he's still fast. He's still slippery, like you were saying too. I think Wood got him down once, but like right away, like a cat, the guy was back on his feet. He's very, very good at getting back to his feet. He never really settles for positions. He's kind of like a Joseph Benavidez. He never just accepts a position. The guy's always going to move. And there are some times where we see him kind of pushed up against the cage, but I do believe that sometimes his footwork will come into play here, which we've seen in a fight that I was watching recently was Pedro Munoz. Whenever Pedro Munoz was just charging forward, he did a really good job in terms of cutting angles and getting out of the way. And don't get me wrong, we know MERAB is going to get a couple of takedowns here. He's not going to be able to keep him down, though. That's the main issue. And that always leaves the opening of him potentially landing that knockout blow. And there are times where, MERAB shows good footwork and we'll see him land a combination and pivot out of the way. But then there are instances where I've personally seen where MERAB throws a 1-2 punch or a 1-2 combination, and he's still there to be hit, and he has been hit by a couple guys. But again, now add that factor of John Dodson. What the fuck do we have? A potential for a knockout. And personally, I took the plus 404 KO prop on John Dodson. I took a half unit stab on him there. But I was kind of hoping that the straight line was going to get up to about plus 250. It seems like it's coming back down again. So I'm going to just stick with I think his only way to win is by KO, to be honest. I think that the output in cardio and pace of Dvalishvili is just so judge-friendly that it's going to be tough for a low-output John Dodson to get a decision victory here. So I might as well just take him by the way I think he's going to win. And plus 400, that's sexy.
For sure. And I saw... So like another thing I forgot to mention was that when it was plus 205, I doubled down. I have 4 units total on John, and I think I always, when these guys are known to be tentative, and that's kind of what they struggle with, and they end up in these decisions, I just always have in the back of my head, like, they'll just turn it on in the next one, and that might be like a flaw in my betting, like, because why can't he? He's an explosive athlete, just like go, go, go. But yeah, sometimes it's just like, go, John. But one fight that really gave me confidence that I watched today was, and it was 2 years ago, but Frankie Saenz and MERAB. So a lot of people thought MERAB won that decision. I didn't. He did a lot of nothing takedowns, and I don't even know how many punches he landed in that fight. And Frankie was like doing things like getting him in the clinch and kneeing him to the body, kind of slowing him down. And I think this is the first time ever John Dodson's ever been compared to Frankie Saenz, but like weirdly how they would fight MERAB, I think is similar, but John's way quicker and more explosive. So yeah, I'm with you. Oh, and I was going to say, after you told me you bet the knockout, I looked at, it was plus 445, and then by decision was plus 220. So it's like, if you bet even on both, he's not going to submit him. You're getting actually plus 230. And I saw that after I bet the plus 205. So that's like a little lesson in shopping around. If you do have props available. Yeah.
What do you think is the most likely outcome for Dodson though? Like, do you think it is the KO?
To me, it's more of a split between KO and decision. It's a coin flip to me. Like, yeah, I think in a tentative, John could still beat him by making more contact and powerful punches and stuff throughout the rounds, just like Frankie did. Even though he will get taken down, he'll get controlled at times. He could be able to pot shot and win a split decision. So I think that's just as likely. But I see the knockout too. I mean, he's been really surprising people with a couple of the knockouts recently. But
for me, I think it's more so he's going to need to drop MERAB. Like, he's going to have to drop him at least once for 2 rounds. If he doesn't do that, I just find it hard to believe that he'll be able to pot shot away to victory with the output of MERAB. Like, the guy is just so wacky and just throws so much shit. And that kind of him being wacky also does open up the knockout opportunity for Dodson. And I do believe, like, we'll see him, like, the one thing that he loves to do, he has that blitzing left hook barrage that he always throws. And that is a ton of power. He's finished a couple guys with that too, right? So I could definitely see that kind of, helping him get the knockout victory here. But Matt, initially when this fight was announced, I'm like, all right, I'm going to be on MERAB. And then I started watching the tape and thinking about it. I'm like, ooh, this is a spot we need to see MERAB overcome before I can be confident in him fighting guys that actually have power.
The one problem for MERAB with me, like, I love his energy, the gas tank. I mean, those are very real. But if you just put up the resumes, and I know, like, John has a lot of losses recently as well, but if you put up who they're fighting against, Peter Yan, Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz, Marlon Moraes, are his last 4, versus Gustavo Lopez, Casey Kenny, who I actually think is really good, Brad Katona, and Terrion Ware, it's not the same. And then he goes back in the last legit competition he had fought was Ricky Simone and Frankie Saenz, and he lost to both. So when he's been tested for real, I think he struggled. So
don't forget also, John Dodson knocked down a good majority of those guys as well too. Demetrius Johnson, he knocked down Marlon Moraes. Like, he's knocked down a bunch of these high level guys. Piotr Yan knocked him down too. And I believe those guys have way better striking defense than MERAB Dvalishvili, who we've seen again get hit over and over again. So I'm totally on this boat, especially at the plus money, especially at the knockout prop that I was able to get. Yes, personally, I'm a big fan of MERAB, so I actually hope he overcomes this as a fan. But from a betting perspective, you got to put your feelings to the side. You got to take the plus money here, and hopefully John Dodson gets that knockout.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thanks, Manpreet. So you're at MMA Lock of the Night on YouTube as well, LOTN. Tell us about like the schedule of content you're putting out for shows.
Yeah, so I have my flagship show, which is the MMA Lockcast, which I drop. I try to aim for Tuesday, but with the schedule that I got going on, it sometimes is Thursday, like today.
Yeah.
That's the flagship. Everybody loves that show. And then I have just a talk show with one of my best friends that I pretty much watch every single event with. We just kick back, just talk about the fights that just happened, and then we kind of preview the fights that are about to come. That's called the Combatistors. And then lastly, we do another just little small show where we talk about any controversial decisions from the night before. Just break down the rounds, see if the person who won the fight deserved to win. And yeah, that's really about it. I stay busy with all that, and then just trying to study 12 fights every week. It definitely keeps me busy.